Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. I wanted to say the level 1 recording for today. Today I'm going to do all level 1 all the time because this is a big topic and I know I'm going to use up all of my time and wonderful creative energy on this. So level 1 definitely for this week is the focus, is the topic. It's, March 6th, I almost said February 6th. March 6th today. Hello and welcome. Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. Today the topic is the flying rainbow lasagna, the Merkaba, and the chakras, and how these three things relate together. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a teaching about it's level 2, about the Merkaba and how the Merkaba can be used for interdimensional travel. Hello, Joelle. Thank you. It's good to see you. And I said, don't worry, level 1 people. We haven't even broached the subject of Merkaba with you yet, but it's one room schoolhouse. You're welcome to learn. So you might have already been exposed to, the idea of the third thing you can do with the Merkaba before you even know about the first and the second thing. Master the basics before you move on to the advanced. That's what today's lesson is all about. Thank you so much. Let me start off with some pictures. Merkaba, first of all, and let me also get my face so you can see my face effectively. Good. Merkaba means light body vessel, and that is what this shape is. It is also called a star tetrahedron, and I'm, continually learning and everything. I always correct myself. The plural of tetrahedron is tetrahedra. No, I'm sorry if I don't have it right. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be so precise and so correct. It's a equilateral pyramid that is made out of equilateral triangles, and you have 4 of them. So here's my fancy dancy cardboard and taped together little sculpture that I made here. So an equilateral triangle has all 3 sides the same length, all 3 angles the same angle, and all these angles therefore must be 60 degrees because the angles of a triangle must add up to 180 degrees. Aurora, stop, you're making us do math. Yes, I'm making you do math, but this is important because, hey guys, you're learning how to fly your own starship. You gotta be precise on some of this stuff. You can't just be I'll just slap things together and paint in broad strokes. No, that's the idea of being a passenger. If you're just going to sit in your seat with your little snack tray down, eat your mini pretzels, and let the pilot do all the flying, that's fine. You don't have to be informed. But you can tell that this is a different approach. This is saying you are responsible for your life. You are responsible for your trajectory through time, space, and consciousness. You need to learn how to fly your own starship. And the way that we put together this larger vessel of consciousness is by all of these little experts. You've mastered your own vessel, all of these mini individual cells coming together in order to form a larger cohesive whole. So the Merkaba is created actually out of 2 of these because I have Dog Boss Princess. Can you see? You can see her on there. She's sitting on my lap because it's such a rainy day and she doesn't want to move. This is what a Merkaba is made out of. These are the puzzle pieces, and they fold together like this. Oh, I don't know if you could see that. Did it fast, and I didn't do it on camera. Folds together like this. And that is one tetrahedron. Yeah, tetrahedron is singular, tetrahedra is plural. I'm trying to do it right. And 2 of these together is what makes up the star tetrahedron shape. And they, of course, interpenetrate one another, but these are solid objects. They can't interpenetrate each other. But you understand what I'm talking about. And one of them faces upward or points upward. This one points upward. And we'll call that the direct pyramid, or the aggressive, but aggressive does not mean punch you in the face. Think of it more like in a soccer league where you've got, the offense that reaches out and runs down the field towards the other goal, and you've got the defense. So you've got offense, aggressive, the pointy one that points upward, and then you've got receptive, the one that points downward. And you can remember this, the one that points downward is just like a chalice. It's like a cup, something that we can use to hold wonderful water. And that is the interplay between these 2 pyramids. These 2 energy. Oh, okay. Blah, blah, blah. Where do these come from? What are they made out of? How do these pop into being? These are something that you visualize. So this is, now we're getting into what you paint with the paintbrush of your mind. These are polygonal structures that you or anybody paints with the paintbrush of your mind. I have this written out like in all of my notes here. I want to make sure that I'm saying this in exactly the right way. I'll come upon it when I see it. Yes, these are, so how do you make them? So you create these shapes by envisioning them around you. It's a practice, just like playing music. I don't know if you can hear my piano up there. Playing music is a practice. You start off and your song might falter and it might not be that strong. That's okay. Then you practice again the next day. You practice the next day, and at a certain point, you're like, I'm a virtuoso. I know exactly what I'm doing. Same thing with the Merkaba. So also, wait, I'll go back to my face. All of this, what I'm presenting to you in terms of Merkaba, this was like learning your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s in the culture known as ancient Atlantis. This is like the very basic, foundation of, or like learning how to walk and talk, like learning your energetic anatomy and learning how to control your body and also protect yourself as you walk through the world. So yeah, where does Merkaba come from? First of all, the syllables of it mean light body vessel. You might even see the root word ka and ba in various different other vestigial spiritual traces, such as the giant cube that is perambulated around in Mecca is known as the Kaaba. And back in ancient Egypt, the idea of like there was your mummy, there's your ka, there's your ba. These are all vestigial traces, etymologically related concepts. But the Merkaba, this star tetrahedron shape and its function, it's like your anatomy. It's like saying you have eyeballs. It's something that is in existence, and it was known to be in existence before the fall of consciousness, before our genetic degradation. It's a basic part of the healthy functioning of your energetic anatomy. It is a projection that you make, that you project out of your third eye. Got it? So in this time and place, most people have a latent third eye, non-functional. So it is not projecting very much. What it does project is very dim and very weak, like not a very strong, vivid image. And very few people in this time and place have been trained to project the image of the Merkaba, or the sensation or the field known as Merkaba, around themselves. In the ancient world, this was like learning to tie your shoes. So I'm not condescending to anyone. I'm saying this is like, the initiatory stuff. This is what we have to learn on a foundation level in order to become virtuosos. Just like learning on the piano, what's a C, what's a D, what's an E. Basic knowledge so that you can build upon that and rise higher. And when you're a musician, you learn something's a C, you learn it's a D. That remains relevant throughout your entire musical career. So learning these things that you're learning with the star tetrahedron is relevant throughout your entire career as a genetic virtuoso. So I have a video all about this also with wonderful animations that you can look into. It is the uses of the Merkaba. So there's 3 basic uses of the Merkaba. And the first one is just as an energy shield, or like an immune system to protect you from unwanted energy coming into you, and also to bring in the stuff that is wanted energy. You could think of it just like your epidermis. So our beautiful skin keeps out the things that we don't want to come inside of us, like bugs and particles and trash and gross stuff. Like none of that is supposed to be inside of you. It's supposed to remain outside of you. Although those things can, exist in existence, they should not come inside of you. And the stuff that you do want to come inside of you, nourishment, oxygen, and beneficial microbes, what we would consider to be probiotics or symbiotic microbes that are not pathogenic. So the difference between pathogen and a beneficial microbe is a pathogen comes inside of you and says, I'm looking out for number one. I don't care about you. I'm doing what I want. Like I'm going to F up the place. I'm going to throw a lot of trash all around here. I don't care. I'm a litter bug. And the microbes that are positive, they come inside and they're like, oh, we love this beautiful cathedral space that we're inside of. We're going to take really good care of it. We're going to send out good stuff. We're going to receive good stuff. So those are the welcome guests that you want to come in. Same exact thing with your Merkaba. Let me go back to the images. The very first use of Merkaba is the idea that you are blocking out the energy that is pathogenic and receiving the energy that is healthy and nourishing. So these are static images, but the Merkaba shape itself is a moving shape. So I want to call your attention to the idea that there are these facets, just like a crystal might have facets, like a flat plate, you know, like a shiny flat surface. And then that energy bounces off of there. So let's say I'm an incoming wave of crapitude and I get over to here. Oh, I'm now bouncing off. I ricochet off of that, just like a mirror. So those flat faces of the polygon shape are like a mirror. And let's contrast that with this area right here that I would call a vertex, like a V, like an opening. It's receptive. Energy can go inside of that vertex. Let's choose a different color. Here's some lovely green, loving energy of awesomeness that can come inside because it came in through the doorway that it's supposed to come into and come right into your heart. So this is just like your epidermis, keeping out the crap that you don't want to come in, allowing in the wonderful things that you do wish to come in. Now I want to call your attention to how this shape is envisioned and built around your body. And you can see that I've got two different, viewpoints of it here. This right here emanates outward from your heart. So the first, how do I do the Merkaba? How do I perform this envisionment? I usually sit like the figure depicted here. It's comfortable for my body and my hips and my spine. If it's not comfortable for you in that way, you don't have to do it. Please always do what is comfortable for you. Like I'm saying, I hold my paintbrush like this, but if you're like, no, Aurora, that hurts my wrist, I have to do it differently. Please do it differently. Modify whatever you need to do in order for your own practice. Oh my goodness, this person hears somebody walking by outside and she's getting all ready to get all good. She settled down. How do I perform this? First, I sit with my legs folded because it naturally creates kind of a triangular base of your body. You have leg one, leg two, and then the way that the knees kind of connect in the front, you're already triangular. So I use that as the basis. So you have an energy center down here at the base of your spine, and I envision that has a pointy part of the pyramid, a vertex, pointing outward from the base of my spine. And I envision the, rest of that triangle, rest of that, base triangle, and then, the rest of the pyramid up with a convergence point up above my crown chakra. So like, a couple inches above my ponytail, right? And you can see here where I'm coloring, that's like a facet that is almost like a windscreen in front of my face. So that's one of the things, the foundation pyramid, you're going to have a flat side that's in front of your face, kind of like the windshield of your car. So that's a good way to kind of remember. And once again, all of this is being done with your imagination. Your imagination is a very real thing. It's a paintbrush that you use to paint reality. So at first, when you start to imagine and envision this, your lines might not be perfect. Imagine if it's very light pencil lines, or imagine if it's like a kid, like with a crayon, and you're kind of like, it's not that straight of a line. That's okay. You get better as you practice. So first I envision or paint the upward pointing one. Then I envision and paint the downward pointing one. So the upward pointing one that is aggressive or offensive or definite, sticks out from behind the base of your spine. The downward pointing one emanates from the center of my chest. That's your heart chakra. Here, you can see it over here on this one too. It emanates outward from the center of your chest. And then, you can see the bottom of that points downward, several inches or a foot or so below your whole entire body. And these two aspects also connect, like this where I'm coloring connects to the sun and the stars and the stellar network and everything that is at a higher dimensional, less dense realm. And this lower one you envision connecting to the earth. Like you've got this whole wonderful energy center, like a battery, that then goes all the way down in an entire, long line, all the way down through the layers of the crust and the mantle, all the way to the center of the earth. And that when you do that effectively, you are like a battery that is plugged in to the sun and the stars on one side, and the earth and dense physicality on the other side. And then this is just to create an energy, a protected energy field. You do this visualization. You can envision it as being static, like these are just pyramids that just sit there around you, or you can begin envisioning them as twirling around you, and they have movement. So this is the next stage. In order to go from the first stage where you just envision this as a protective energy field to the next stage, you have to start envisioning it twirling. As it twirls, it's kind of like, Wonder Woman with magic, bracelets. They are like flinging off the energy that is coming at you that you don't want to be there. So this is part of like its function as, mirrors or reflectors that reflect off energy that you don't want. So I teach the way that I do it. I hold my paintbrush like this. I take the one that emanates from my heart and I start to swing it around to my left, which I know is not on camera accurately, but swinging the one comes out from me around to my left, and the one that comes out from back behind my base of my spine, I start to swing around to the right. And when I do my flying rainbow lasagna dance, if you ever watch me do this, you might see me make a movement kind of like this. And that's my shorthand, like, hey, shields up. That's how I would like you to envision or understand the primary aspect of Merkaba as shields up. Shields up. And when I do it, now it's as easy as tying my shoes. So it's also very much like when you are a young child. When you first start to learn to tie your shoes, you're like, okay, the loop goes over, I tie the rabbit's ears together. Like, you have to really focus on everything that you're doing. Now that you are an adult and you have tied your shoes like an uncountable number of times, it's easy for you to do. You can tie your shoes while you're like holding onto the dog's leash and balancing a cup of coffee and, talking on the phone at the same time. You can do, it is easy. That is how I have found it to be with the Merkaba. When I first started out like a little child, I had to focus on it. I had to sit in meditation. I had to sit with my legs crossed. I had to really focus on what I was doing and what I was looking at. I had thin pencil lines, not strong, definite India ink lines. And it took a lot of, just like learning music, it took a lot of time for me to get to be confident with the Merkaba that I was making or the notes that I was playing on the piano. So now I can do it like that easy, shields up. I don't have to sit in that basic body position. I can do it while I'm driving the car. I can do it if I'm standing around. I can do it if I'm sitting in the dentist chair. Like, oh, I'm sitting in the dentist chair to get my teeth cleaned. Shields up, get that fluoride away from me. I'm joking, but you understand, like, you need to be able to develop the capacity to do this I'll go back to my face. At any, at any impetus, because this is like protecting yourself. And you can also ask this question. I sense this question is coming. Aurora, why do I have to keep on making this thing happen? Like, why do I have to keep on remaking it? Like, what happened? Why is the strudel not just sit there? I make a strudel, why doesn't it just stay there? If I make a Merkaba around myself, why doesn't it just stay there? And it is like a living energy field, just like a garden that you have to tend to, it's alive. So it's not like something that is a machine where it's like, oh, I've created my machine and I've programmed it and now beep, bop, boop, it just does its thing. And it just runs with no need for anything. That's not what this is. This is like, or just think of muscles on your body. Your muscles are not like machines. They are living things. They need to be tended to. If you want to make muscles and have muscles, you have to work them. You have to keep them in shape. That is exactly what the Merkaba is like. It's like a muscle that you begin to cultivate, you begin to develop, and then you have to work it every day or whatever, every so often in order to maintain it. So that's the other thing. So there are some teachers who teach about specific breath work when you're doing this. I don't teach about that. I really focus on if you're a saxophone player or a piano player or an athlete or whatever, focus on the music and your athleticism. I say the breath will come, even though some people focus on the breath as like part of the music. But yeah, so how do I know that I'm in tune when I'm doing the Merkaba? When I get those two energy fields spinning, and so I spin heart to the left, base of the spine to the right, but I've read that males might like to do their Merkaba in the complementary, in the opposite way, with heart going to the right and base of spine going to the left. Do whatever feels right for you. Like, literally, this is just like if you're doing snowboarding. Do you put your left foot forward or do you put your right foot forward? Which one feels right to you? It's not right and wrong. If you're doing snowboarding right, if you don't fall on your butt and slide down the mountain on your booty, then you are doing it right. So let's talk about Merkaba. You are doing it right when you get your energy field spinning and you can feel a column of light that goes all the way through your whole entire body from that top point to the bottom point. So much easier to draw it than to tell you with my words. So you are doing it right when you can feel a column of light going down your body like this and connecting those 2 points. all the way up. And of course, you've connected to the earth and to the stars. So it's kind of like you have to get to optimum speed or optimum metabolism in order to feel that. And then it's like, once I feel that, I know I'm spinning at optimum speed. And also what it feels like to me now, because I can do Merkaba like just walking down the street, and I do it too because there are like pathogenic people out there. And sometimes I see them approaching me on the sidewalk and I'm like, oh, shields up. Sometimes I don't even have to make a hand movement or whatever. But yeah, what it feels like to me is kind of like a cascade of water or energy kind of flowing down over me like a protective waterfall. So I do like shields up, and it feels like, and then I'm protected. And I do that, as I said, on a regular basis. Like crazy homeless person is approaching me, shields up, or going into a Walmart. You need to go into Walmart to buy a light bulb or whatever. Shields up, any of those things. Hey, let's talk about my little person who's on the. Oh, I'm so cold and I'm so unhappy. I'm just sitting here in my little sweater. This little person over here. Before we go to the dog park, where some of the dogs are bigger than her and all sorts of different stuff. People told me all sorts of things. Be afraid, be aware, mishaps and everything like that. I do a little shield of protection on her. So now this is a little bit different because someone's going to ask me, oh, hey, you can do it for yourself. You could do it for other people. Yes, you can do it for other people. You can do it for yourself. You can do it for your loved ones, dog, cat, horse, redwood tree, microbe, or whatever. You can do it for family members. You can do it for the planet herself. So yeah, it's a protective energy field. And it is not intrusive to do this, because it's really good when people ask me, like, am I allowed to do this? What are the ethics involved? Am I being intrusive? Am I this? Am I that? Let's just say, like, if anybody ever thought, like if you were shielding someone from bullets, would they ever be like, hey, stop shielding me from bullets. Allow those bullets to fly through me. Like, very few people would do that. But, if they ever really felt that way, the benevolent energy that you're sending, the well-intentioned energy that you're sending would travel onward. If they wanted to get shot with bullets, they could get shot with bullets. But generally, it's like saying you are sending good wishes to someone. Something in a very unformed way, when you are wishing for someone to have financial success or good health or whatever it is, you are putting a benevolent energy field around them. You're saying, oh, I hope that goodness finds you, and I hope that evil does not find you. And that is the intent. That's what we're supposed to do with the paintbrush of our minds. So yes, it is totally appropriate for you to protect and shield yourself and protect and shield others that you love and care about. So before I let Cheeky go off her leash and go play with her little doggy friends, bloop, I put a little Merkaba of protection around her. And you know what else I do? I put Merkabas around the other dogs too. And here's an example. Like, what does the Merkaba do in terms of protection? Is it like Wonder Woman shield, literally? Like, does it mean that bullets can't pass through it, literally? No, it is a shield of the negative events and negative repercussions. So to use an example in my own life, last year I lived across town in a different place, and I eat bacon very regularly. No, I'm not a vegan. And I get like good, high quality stuff from the local butcher. So I cooked my bacon, and then I was pouring off the hot grease into a glass jar that was, on the sink. And I poured all of the, liquid fat into the glass jar, and I didn't know that the jar had cracked around the bottom. And when I went to pick it up in order to move it, everything that was in that jar, like a lot of accumulated fat, like this much, went everywhere around the whole kitchen, except not on me, because I had my Merkaba shield going on. So here's a very dangerous, very possibly negative, devastating accident that could happen, right? That could have really hurt me, or really, derailed my life and, taken a lot of time away from me and everything. Out of that dire situation, or let's say of all the possibilities, like the dice are rolling, of all those possibilities, the best possibility happened. Literally none of the hot bacon fat went on me. It went all over the rest of the entire effing kitchen. I had to clean up a lot, but the whole time that I'm cleaning up, I'm like, wow, I'm so happy that I didn't just get horribly burned. This is the best outcome of a bad situation. And the worst thing that happened was I used up a lot of paper towels. That is how you can understand the use of the Merkaba. So we have to understand we live in this world that has risks in it. So whatever you're doing, if you're driving your car, there are risks. If you are cooking bacon, there are risks. If you're just walking out your front door with your cup of coffee in the morning to get the newspaper or whatever, there are risks. So this is a way of mitigating the risks inherent in being alive. I use this all the time. You guys are experts in this class at this point. This is a bundle of timelines, possibilities, and probabilities. And if we are wobbling and we go to the canted angle, then we're going to these possibilities that we don't want to experience. So this is another tool that we can use to focus our attention, our awareness, what we're actually experiencing, like the needle on the record, away from events you don't want to experience. So yeah, I don't want to experience, being burned head to toe with bacon grease. No, that sounds horrible. I would way rather experience successfully making my breakfast in the morning and then cleaning up the kitchen and then going on and doing, cool, fun stuff. So that is what happened. And that is because of my intentions that I put into my protected energy field all around us. So to go back to my example of my beautiful little dog here, if she's going to go out and play with the other dogs in the dog park, and there's inherent risks available in that, but you got to have fun. You got to live your life and seize the day and carpe the diem and suck the marrow out of the bone, literally sometimes with her. So she's got to go off leash and play with the other dogs, even though they're all like mostly bigger than her, and definitely mostly like more mean and aggressive than her. Put a Merkaba around her. And then I put the Merkaba around the other dogs too. And so what that means is that, let's say one of those dogs is having a bad day and decides to, get rowdy. That dog won't interact with my dog. We'll go somewhere else. We'll end up chasing a squirrel. Well, the best of all possibilities will happen. Or if a mean dog decided to try to chase after Cheeky, like something would happen that would stop the worst outcome and would make it a neutral, minimally disconcerting outcome. That's how you can understand the use of the Merkaba as a immune system against events that you don't want to have happen. So like I said, I mentioned the inherent risk involved in just driving your car around town. If I'm even just going to go and drive to the grocery store, I put a Merkaba of protection around my car, and I envision, just like on your GPS, envision the little route where you're driving your car on a little map. You put a Merkaba around that entire route, getting to your destination, and then see yourself safely coming back home. And that is the beginning of understanding that you're making a program. You're becoming a computer programmer or a software developer in partnership with reality or with the cosmos or with the great composer. And I will use this opportunity as an opportunity to reaffirm that I'm not a transhumanist. And if I use the vocabulary word of being a software developer, that I do not pretend that any of us are little tiny software programs. We are much, much more than little software programs. But I feel like I am a software programmer. I feel like I'm an analyst. And like I'm looking for the bugs in reality. And I'm like, that's effed up, that needs to be patch code there, and fix that there. And so these are just, the analogies that I'm using. And I'm also trying to find a way to how do I talk about this stuff that is very abstract? These are analogies help us to get a handle on something that's very abstract. So let me just drink a little bit. I know that there's lots of good questions. I should get to that too. Okay, before I go much further, I will stop and I will do a few questions. Joel says, I feel like our third eyes have been raped with all the media programming and toxins and belief systems. I agree with you, girlfriend. And technology, that it can barely function, if any, at all in making love to the universe in a healthy way. I really agree. A really good point. It can't project. It just constantly bombarded and abused. I feel like it was so much easier for me to visualize when I was a kid, and now it's really hard. My heart, I feel it. I'm connecting with you on my heart right now. I feel it. I feel those challenges. I recognize it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, because my experience here as Aurora is different. Like I have always had this activated, and I've had my eyesight has always been sharp, and so it is good to be reminded of what it feels like for everyone who is trying really hard to get their eyeballs open and trying to rub out the sleep dust and be look around and understand it. Thank you for affirming that. There's been a lot, literal rape. There's been a lot of abuse and intrusion into this area of our individual and collective anatomy. And it's not okay on any level. So all of these things are like a reclamation, reclaiming, like anyone, any person or any place that has been violated. If you look around and you're like, there's all this pollution, there's all this, inflammation that happened as a result of this. it's time for this to be rectified. So, this is a sensory organ. And it's just like if your ears, or you've been assaulted with like, too much, your smell, you smell something that's really, really gross, your sense of smell kind of is like diminishes, so that you don't constantly smell something gross. And same thing with with ears. People that live in urban areas where it's constantly really loud have a hearing loss because you become desensitized, is what I'm trying to say. So this is a sensory organ, and for many people, it has become desensitized. Many people have closed down their perception up here because it is uncomfortable, because they're seeing things and perceiving things that make them feel uncomfortable. And then there's also the abuse that you mentioned, things like advertising and, mind control. There's mind control all over our whole society, not just people that were tied down by the CIA and force-fed LSD. Like there's mind control just as an inherent part of our education system. And there's subliminals in media. You're right, Joelle. It's incredibly difficult. So consider this as like the ultimate struggle, the ultimate whatever, like a person who's on one of those weight loss shows who weighs 600 pounds and is like, I'm going to lose the weight. Like you are going to do it. It's not a struggle against anything else. It is a struggle to come back to yourself and to reawaken those parts of yourself that are really in there. So Jen asks, does top Merkaba and bottom spin in the same direction? The answer is no. They always spin, if you're doing it correctly, in complementary directions. So one will spin to the left, one will spin to the right, but you can experiment as to what feels most comfortable and appropriate and is most effective in your life. And Chloe says, I've been trying to do my Merkaba when I am meditating. Is that a good idea, or should I do it separately? Yes. Do your Merkaba while you're meditating. That is absolutely perfect. Like at first, in my own practice, I would have to sit in cross-legged position, and I needed like quiet and time, and I needed to really focus on it, just like now when I'm learning something new, or I'm learning to do some new musical software thing. I'm like, God, like I need hours to focus on it. I can't just do it like in 5 seconds and then go cook my bacon and eggs. Like, no. So now I'm so adept at doing the Merkaba that's like, oh, I can do that in 5 seconds and then go cook my breakfast and, clean everything up safely. So I would say like, as you focus on it, it becomes easier to generate it. And that's what I need. It's just like being building muscles. Like I can lift a 5-pound weight. That's easy. Like that, I already got those muscles mastered, but lifting a 50-pound weight, that is still challenging. Joelle says, yeah, totally. I'm not going to stop trying to get back to myself. I know it will happen. Very, very good. So let me go through this a little bit more. We're going to get to the strudel recipe of like how the Merkaba relates to your chakras and how all this relates to the flower of life. So, but first I want to just do a little bit more on Merkaba. The first use of it is this energetic immune system, the capacity to block out pathogens and still bring in nutrients. And then the next level of sophistication or inner development is being able to use this as a tool for manifesting. And it's a different level of manifesting than the flying rainbow lasagna as a tool for manifesting. So remember last week I told you, and the week before I told you, I'm going to tell you all about what the flying rainbow lasagna is and what is happening and what is going on a genetic level, but not yet the how. Like we're learning a song, we're learning a melody, but you don't have a key. You need to learn like B flat 7. You need to learn a weird jazz chord before you are ready to play this melody. So today you are learning that weird jazz chord, which is called the Merkaba. And in order to, all of this is interdimensional travel or interdimensional empowerment that is done through your perception. That's what I said. You can't just sit, or you can just sit, but I'm encouraging you not to just sit like a passenger eating your mini pretzels, but instead to be the pilot. Yo no soy marinero, soy capitán. Soy capitán. Don't just be the sailor, be the captain, all right? Be the captain of your own vessel. So you are going to change reality by manipulating or utilizing your perception. And then you will be able to be empowered in your own life. And you won't have to ask me like, oh, please, or a God or whatever, some other person be like, oh, please, make blah, blah thing happen because I want it to happen. Like, please give me ice cream on Tuesday because I want it to happen. Be like, no, do your own thing. This person over here manifests all the time. I told you about that fried wonton. She wants those wontons so much. And the Chinese food restaurant is out there. We walk past it almost every day. And she's like, I want that wonton. I don't eat Chinese food. I don't eat junk food. She's never going to get it from me in this house. So she doesn't have money. How's she going to get a wonton? She had to use her capacity to imagine and to envision and to manipulate reality. And she somehow got someone, I think she uses Jedi mind tricks to make people drop food so that she can eat it. She's done it to me a couple of times. Like I'm like just about to eat the food, and she does something, and it falls on the floor, and she gets it really fast. So I'm just saying, a master manifester, a sophisticated person in the body of a small dog. Okay, wait, let me drink water. Let me go back to topic of the day. Let's talk about perception. And I have this optical illusion here that is all prepared, along with my many other visual stuff that's all prepared for today. So I've used this in class before. It's not something that I drew. This is a very famous or well-known optical illusion where the lines of the drawing do not change, but what changes is your interpretation of that image. So if you look at it one way, it can look like an old woman, kind of like wearing a babushka scarf, and she's got like a little, skinny mouth and kind of like a big nose that points downward. And then if you look at it in a different way, change your perception and change your interpretation of these black and white, pixels on your screen, it can look like a young woman who's kind of turned away in profile, and you kind of see her jawline and just a little bit of her eyelash, and is wearing a feathered cap, and that's her long veil coming out behind her. So I would now encourage everyone, like, play around, look on your screen right now, do whatever acrobatics of the mind and flip-flopping of your perception that you need to do in order to see, oh, look, it's this old woman. Oh, look, it's a young woman. Old, young, old, young, old, young. Okay, so we're understanding the lines didn't change. I didn't take any erase anything. I didn't change the image. You changed the image with your system of interpretation. So all of this, now I'm going to get into my drawings of the day. All of this goes back to the Renaissance. And maybe I should just go to the whiteboard. Hold on, go to the whiteboard. Before the Renaissance, this is art class now. Everyone, we did math already. Now we're doing art. Before the Renaissance, when you painted a painting, and this is also still true in a lot of the indigenous world, that does not use the drawing system that we know as perspective. So before the Renaissance and the invention of perspective, which is literally like a type of visual magic that artists developed, the canvas was looked at like a flat screen and with no depth. So, if here's a person on the flat screen, then we don't have anything going back behind them. There's nothing behind them. So sometimes it's called like an icon, like a rather flattened image. And you could also see that in the features. They did not look photorealistic. They looked flattened. And there's not, so you might see it like a picture of a person or a picture of a face, but you would not see then, distant trees and then mountain in the background, and then you just see like a flattened background. And all of this changed with the wonderful painters of the Renaissance and the visual, magical new technology known as one-point perspective or vanishing perspective. So in this, now we have a little screen here with a little painting or whatever. That's the vanishing point. That's the perspective. And all of these lines of perspective, sorry, my pen sometimes doesn't work properly. I'm trying to draw with the computer pen. All lines meet at that line of perspective. So I'm going to draw the inside of a room. Hey, there you go. That's inside of a room. Like here's a person standing in a room. Here's his head, and here's his arms, and here's his legs. Look, I just created depth by what I was drawing. These symbolic line structures on a flat screen. I just created depth. So this is because. So wait, I'll draw this one over here. Here's another one. It's like a landscape. If I say, okay, this is the horizon. And then this is sun going down behind the horizon. We could get into a whole discussion about flat Earth. Don't get me started on flat Earth. And here's a person in front of the, there you go. Boom. Okay. So before the invention of perspective, this type of painting would not have been painted, or would not, if I showed you these symbols, you would not have interpreted it in this way. You might have interpreted it as like, oh, that's a strange, like hieroglyphic or something like that. It took training of perception of the eyeballs looking at paintings. It took training or indoctrination to get everyone to understand, like, no, when I'm showing you this, pretend that you're looking, oops, we'll get to that painting, don't worry. Pretend that you're looking through this like you're looking through a window. So now, you know, this one that I painted over here looks very similar to the actual thumbnail that you're seeing my talking head inside of. Look, here's the ceiling line. Here's the ceiling line. Here's, you can't see it, but imagine the couch, back behind the couch. Oops. Look, there's a line that goes, here, make it go on the screen properly. There's a line that goes this way. No, this way. There you go, this way. And there's another line that goes this way, or just look at the top of this, look at how that angle goes. All of the lines in this studio on this little screen go and meet in a vanishing point. And just, I mean, I say these things all the time, but parallel lines meet at infinity. So this is math's definition of parallel lines. Those are parallel lines. They travel next to each other. They never meet. According to math definition of what parallel means, parallel lines never meet. But according to perspective over here, parallel lines meet at infinity. They go and they meet. They come together like a V. And that little point back there, that's infinity where they're meeting. So, okay, all of this in order to say that with the invention of one-point perspective or vanishing point perspective, humanity's perception was retrained. And all of our art, our visual art, reflected that, because now painting became something that was not a flat thing that you just look at the surface. It became a window that you look through. And so, like, you know, to give you an idea, the Mona Lisa, that's one of the, you know, that era and that example, you're just starting to see there's some mountains in the background and it kind of goes off into like a misty distance. That painting is just starting to show like having a background so it was considered a magical activity. To make something flat look like it's three-dimensional, that's magical. That is called adding an additional dimension, making something two-dimensional look like it's three-dimensional. Now I have to show you this painting that is called The Bridge Between Squares and Hexagons. So I painted this and brought this to one of the math art conferences that I have attended. And I usually do not use straight lines in my paintings. Most of my paintings are comprised entirely of circles and, you know, nested arcs and curvilinear shapes. So it is very rare for me to use straight lines. So this is what and I'll get into where straight lines come from. But first, let me call your attention. Let me get a color that you can see. So first, let's look at this basic hexagon shape. Hexagon, let's define terms. Hexagon means a six-sided polygon. And hexagon has these angles that are all 60-degree angles. Here I'm making those equilateral triangles for you. You see that I'm making these equilateral triangles. They all have 60-degree angles. That's 60, 60, 60 in all of those angles. And that shape that I just drew, so hexagon sounds like six. Sixagon, hexagon, it's got that X in it and the X sound. So that's how you can remember and understand what a hexagon is. So this shape over here does not have depth. If I show that to you, you're like, oh yeah, like that's a hexagon, that's this flat thing. But if I show you this shape down here, it has depth. And that is because of the shading, the the use of value that I've used in terms of it looks like a cube to you, and also because of the way that these lines are extended and they swoop off into what you interpret in your system of interpretation as into the distance. So this shape, this painting is basically about coming forward into the next dimension. We start off with a hexagon that looks flat. We don't interpret it as having depth. We interpret it as being two-dimensional. This shape down here gets interpreted by your eyes and your brain and your consciousness as three-dimensional. It's the same exact shape. The outline, if I draw this outline over here, it's the same exact outline as this one over here. The difference is the tones or the shading in the colors that I've used, and also the lines that the context that surrounds it. You are the magician adding an additional dimension, making it look like it's three-dimensional when it's actually two-dimensional. This is the big thing. So we're getting into the magic of quantum observership, that your observership is creating reality. You're collapsing fifth-dimensional waveforms of possibility and probability into the actual reality that you're experiencing. You are, quote-unquote, baking the dough of reality with the ovens in front of your eyes. This is observership. So this is just an example of that, the idea that your perception and the way that you have trained your perception is a creative act. First of all, you're creative as the viewer, and that what you are creating is another dimension, another dimension, another dimension, another dimension. Hold on. That's from a Beastie Boys song. I got to drink a little bit of juice here. Oh, so this is really good juice today. Shake it up over here. I got a cube of raw cannabis. That's from last summer's garden. Fresh coconut water, like out of one of those young coconuts, and some mango juice. This is a good, really good. Oh my God, those nutrients are so good. Adding an additional dimension with your perception. And when you, I say this all the time in this class, when you add an additional dimension, you add an additional degree of freedom, going from a flat object to a three-dimensional object, going from a flat piece of paper and folding it until it's an origami shape and being able to fold the fabric of space, time, and consciousness. So the big emphasis here is that this transformation from 2D into 3D is because of your perception and your system of interpretation. Now I have to get into, okay, okay, hold on a second. I'm going to show you my desktop. I'm going to get rid of some of these pictures. We've done you. Let's go to this. This line drawing is what is known as the flower of life. There's a teacher that I find to be a worthy person to look into. I'm just not remembering her name, but who calls it the daisy of death. Now I want the annotation. It won't give me the annotation. It's so annoying. Come on, annotate. What do I have to do to make it work? Work. I have to hop out and hop back in. Daisy of death. Well, anyway, he calls it the daisy of death because, so okay, there we go. This shape over here is, it's all over. You see it in all sorts of different contexts, is what I'm trying to say. You might see it on yoga pants or on a yoga mat or stenciled onto a decorative tank top or something like that. It's a slice of reality. It contains a portion of the recipe of reality, but not the entire thing. This is analogous to the limited grandmother's strudel recipe that does not actually give you the real technique for making strudel. So this is a cautionary tale, and you'll see how all of this relates to perception and the Merkaba and your chakras. So stay with me, stay on board. We're actually getting someplace with this. So first of all, this shape is a slice of reality. It does not show you the three-dimensional structure. It shows you a two-dimensional cross-section of a three-dimensional structure. The three-dimensional structure that shows you the cross-section of is a series of overlapping spheres that are just like the cell membranes of your cellular structure of your body. And so when your cells of your body, here you have here's your ovum, the egg that started out as you, and then it starts to divide and it becomes two, right? You have two of these that are overlapping, and then it becomes even more complex. You have four of them that are overlapping. With each time that the cell divides, cell mitosis, understand that you have more of these overlapping spheres, and it gets to a certain point of complexity with the cell division and overlapping spheres that your biological structure, when you have a cross-section of it, looks a lot like this. And I'm going to show you with the three-dimensional sculptures what's really going on. So now I have to make a distinction between, there are two different matrices or basic patterns that are at work in our cosmos. One is based on 60 degrees and hexagons. Remember those equilateral triangles? And every single one of those angles is a 60-degree angle, and that is what all of these triangles are here. And so in the natural world, we see evidence of this in honeycomb. Inside of a beehive, the honeycomb shape is made out of these 60-degree angles. Okay, hold on a second. I want to consult my notes because I have this written down perfectly. Hold on a second. Okay. It's also the shape of snowflakes or crystallized water, and it is also the shape of a carbon atom. So once again, hexagon, this six-sided hexagon shape that's the shape of a I didn't say it right, carbon molecule, not carbon atom. So many carbon atoms fit together and they make this shape. And carbon is one of the main building blocks of our organic cellular body. And water, when it crystallizes, which most of us have seen and experienced in the form of snow. If you're from New York, then you've seen snow. Six-sided snowflakes. So, and water is another basic portion of our body. Carbon and water, we're made up of a lot of both of those things, and they're all relating to this six-sided shape. So there's lots of evidences of this in our own body, in things like beehives, and there's a reason for that. So part of it is that it's one of the easiest angles to make. That's why bees make their honeycombs out of that angle. It's an extremely strong angle, like it's structurally sound. And when it's put together in this format over here, it's very efficient. Like that's why bees use it. They use it to hold their honey in their honeycomb and pack their little bee babies into there. And there's a way to do it without losing any space. You know, there's not like unused space. They use up 100% of their space in their honeycomb. It's an effective packing. So you have this hexagonal grid, but then we also have this grid that is octagonal, which is based in eighths, but we see it as a square. Now I'm going to draw with the magic of perspective. This is a cube. So the cube is what is the higher dimensional state of this hexagonal grid. And we only see the front face of the cube, so we say it is like a square. So that's the difference. This painting over here, we'll go back to, go to this. No, can I do this? Do you think? The bridge between squares and hexagons. In this painting, you see some of these very prominent, now you're not annotating. Not working. Go back to it. The prominent squares that I want to display to you. Squares, prominent squares. No, still not working? Do your thing. Squares, prominent squares in a color that you can't even see. So annoying sometimes, guys. Prominent squares right here, squares right there, and how that relates to these hexagons right here. So now I have to go to my face and just clear this all out. It's just annoying. Go back to my face. Now I have to go to this sculpture. Use this in this class all the time. So this is the shape that is the shape of chakras. Chakras being energy centers or spinning vortices of energy in your body. And this chakra shape actually has two elements to it, one of which is oriented in this direction and one of which is oriented in this direction. So you could call this a double torus shape. One donut that spins around like this and one donut that spins around like this. And in almost all of my paintings, you will see this four-lobed shape. We'll count it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. But what you're seeing in the paintings, which are two-dimensional cross-sections, is just the front, without being able to see that there's 4 lobes behind it. This shape, everyone here is becoming a total expert when I say this, is a bundle of possibilities and probabilities. It is the representation of your higher dimensional aspects of self, your time body, the potentials of your future. Store that away, the potentials of your future, okay? And so where I'm placing my little pen, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4-lobed shapes, but there's actually 8 of them. So now where's my other little thing? Hold on a second. I know I'm waking you up. I'm making too many movements. This shape represents the negative space of that yellow sculpture. And negative does not mean bad or wrong or evil. It means, like lower does not mean bad or wrong or evil. It just means lower in tone. The negative space is like, the negative space of my water cup is where my water goes in the cup and I'm drinking some of it. So the negative space of that yellow sculpture takes the shape of this orange sculpture. And this is a very informal sculpture that I literally made out of kids' clay. It's like, like Flintstones clay. It's not real clay, but it works. So if I hold it just right, first of all, you can see, hey, there's that 4-lobed shape. That's very familiar, and you can see that in all of my different paintings, right? But then if you see that that's 4, but then what's behind it over here, 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So big emphasis for everyone to understand this shape, your higher dimensional time body, not your cellular, organic, physical, peanut butter and jelly eating body. Your higher dimensional time body is based in eights, octa, not hexa. And what we're doing with our perception is creating a bridge between octa and hexa. Just like with our perception, we create a bridge between the two-dimensional realm and the three-dimensional realm through our system of interpretation that is known as one-point perspective. Dun, 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 dun. So this shape is the negative space of this shape. And it's got 8 lobes to it, right? And if I hold it in just the right way, you will start to see the flower of life. Good, perfect. So first let's count. The radial spokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 spokes going around. I say radial, it's like the petals of a flower. But you guys can see, this is a sculpture. There's 1 spoke that is pointing towards the camera. And then if I turn this all around behind here, there's 1 spoke that I'm holding on to that is pointing towards me. So that means that there's 2 other dimensions, or another dimension, a higher dimensional space that is not being represented. If you just take a slice out of this plane and we don't talk about this and we don't talk about this, that's what this line drawing is showing you. It is showing you a portion of the recipe of who you are, but not the whole recipe. And it's a distortion to the point that you can't make strudel properly. So I use this example for anyone who's just tuning in on this video. Imagine if you had some cruel Germanic grandmother and you're like, Grandma, please teach me your strudel recipe before you go to the grave. And she's like, yes, sure. I will teach you my strudel recipe. You just take some apples and cinnamon and sugar, and you just kind of make some dough, and you just mix up the water with the flour and the yeast, and you just kind of slap it all together, roll it out, put the apples on top, stick it in the oven for 375, and then you've got your strudel. That is not how you make strudel, okay? If anybody's ever done it, it's this whole elaborate process. So if grandmother gave that to you as their strudel recipe, and you try to make it, you'll end up with like a gloppy, gross, undercooked mess. Because what you actually have to do is make this dough, mix it up, let it rest, punch down, let it rise, let it rest again. Do all these different things to knead the dough. Then after the dough is conditioned, you have to have a whole entire giant table that you sprinkle lightly with flour, and you roll out these sheets of dough so that it's very, very thin. Then you turn it again and brush it with butter, and turn it again and brush it with butter. There's a lot of technique is what I'm trying to say, that cruel Germanic grandmother did not impart to you, and did that intentionally. Because she's like, I don't want anybody else to be able to make strudel like me. And even while I'm in the grave, they'll be like, we miss grandma so much because no one else can make strudel like her. Okay, that's why grandma does stuff like that. This is just a total fictional grandma. I'm telling you, like, there's no way, it's not based on a real grandma. Because everyone's starting to get emotionally invested in this grandma. No, it's like the grandma of the secret societies. The cruel Germanic grandma is the grandma of secret and occult esoteric societies that say, oh, sure, I'll give you the recipe as to how to be healthy and vital and how to manifest the reality that you want to experience. You just throw some water and flour together and make a dough, and then throw some apples on top, and it's easy and it's great. Like, no, there's a lot more to it than that. And they're intentionally leaving out this critical information. So when you go to, here, I'm trying to find the right picture. When you go to this picture over here, this is the level of the recipe that is allowed out for public consumption. It does not include the crucial information of the other dimensions that are hopping forward, this one in this direction and this one in this direction, so that you actually have an 8-lobed shape. Remember, this line drawing is a cross-section of that initial cell structure. So when sperm meets ovum, there's a expansion. I want to call it an explosion, but it's not an explosion like kapow out of gasoline. It's an explosion of life. It's a sudden proliferation. It's like a wonderful geometric expansion. And here it's appropriate to use the word geometric because literally we're talking about measuring your physicality and your physical body. And so also this is how you'll understand that moment of conception is like a geometric, it's like a seed that begins to blossom and that moves outward. It's a magical moment. It's a magical activity. This is why I say things that I say about the value of sexuality, choosing your partners intentionally, having procreative sex. Like that moment is using divine paintbrushes to make a real masterpiece. And the reverberation from that moment expands into an entire adult human body. So that initial geometry, that initial polygonal format, and the way that the cells are structured is evidenced in our physical body, that initial grouping of cells becomes complexified and individuated, but we still have that column of negative space that runs up and down our spinal column that relates to this initial proliferation or expansion of cell structure. So the problem with this line drawing, the cruel Germanic grandmother problem, show me the annotation. It's so annoying because I just want to draw on it and it doesn't always show it for me. I have to hop out and hop back in. And it's annoying to all of us, including my little dog. She's like, I'm annoyed in all of your favor. There we go. Now annotate. Daisy of Death. Why is this not okay? Because first let's count the 6 radio spokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And I'll just clear everything out. What we're supposed to do is we're supposed to have another one that's here where I'm making this red dot, and that points towards the camera. And then we're supposed to have another one that points away from the camera. That information is not imparted in this line drawing at all. And there's more. The angles at which you find these lobes, the angle of this spoke to this spoke is not the same. It's not accurate as the angles in these spokes as they relate to the cube. I will speak to your concerns about Saturn and the cube, but first let me talk to this. Also, the shape of the footballs. Like these footballs in the line drawing are rather skinny. They're kind of like that, almost like pedal shapes. And my footballs are fatter footballs. That's how they're actually supposed to be shaped. So there's 2 things wrong in this recipe. First of all, grandmother has left out the higher dimensional information that there's one that points towards you, one that points away from you. And also, grandmother has given you these skinny, skinified shapes on a diet. And the shapes are supposed to be these much fatter, plumper shapes. So now let's get to your concern. Saturn's cube. Aurora, you're teaching us all about all this cube stuff. Here, like what you're showing us with this, down here with this cube. And I read that there's a horrible religion that's based on Saturn's cube, and the Kaaba in Mecca is about, limitations. Like, okay, I'll stop being silly. Many people, and rightfully so, recognize that a lot of the teachings that relate to Saturn and the cube are about limitation, are about keeping you in a box, about keeping you limited, not allowing you to jump forward into your higher dimensional state. I'm getting to the higher dimensional state. So this shape right here, this shape is actually based on a cube. Let's count it out. So here's base, where my hand is holding. That's 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, 4 side, 5 side, 6 side. This is a cube, like a dice. It's a 6-sided cube, but the sides are being created by these flat vortex base structures. Okay, and lots of people when I talk about the chakras, and they're like, Aurora, we hate the chakras, we hate Saturn's cube, we want to amputate or remove our chakras. We see them as purely limiting things. And I say to you, they weren't intended to be limiting things. This was not intended to be a prison. This has been subverted and distorted, and it goes winky-jinky so that you can't use it correctly. It is not inherently evil. It is not inherently flawed. And none of the things that I'm teaching you are designed to keep you in a box, keep you in a cage. Far from it. This is all about transcending. So this information now should give you a good footing so that you can then jump off the springboard into the next highest dimension and really be free. That's where I'm going with all of this. So this shape also relates to the cube. Let's count it out for you, because this is the negative space of that. So here's 1 side, the base that my sculpture is sitting upon my hand is 1 side, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got that same basic cube shape is evidenced here, and then we turn the cube on its side, and then you see that you've got the 6 radio spokes, and the one that points towards you and the one that points away from you. So this is an understanding of your cellular structure. That is very different than your time structure. This is the understanding of how your time structure relates to your cellular structure. I got to get 2 more pictures. Hold on a minute. And then we'll get to your Vajrayana body. So wait, that I'm going to go down. That I'm going to go down. Here, now we're starting to get somewhere. Can you please, there we go, annotation, it worked, good. Whew. This is the line drawing for a painting that I made that is called Merkaba Chakra 1. And this shows you one torus or toroidal or donut center, donut shaped energy center, and how that relates to the star tetrahedron shape. And in this drawing, none of the straight lines are created by straight lines. They're all made out of many, many clustered little tiny circles. So I should have made that more evident. In the football shapes, we have arc 1 plus arc 1 equals straight line. Remember, I did this on last week's presentation. This is amplitude and wavelength. Waveform 1 plus waveform 2. They both have the same wavelength equals amplitude. Very, very tall waveform that goes up into, you can't see what probably in a place that you can't see. Wavelength stays the same. This is wavelength. The length of the wave stays the same, but what happens is its amplitude doubles, okay? So this is visual math. Wave plus wave equals super tall wave, but with the same wavelength. Now let's go back to that football shape I was drawing. So here's a skinny football shape, like the erroneous flower of life, and here's a fatter football shape. That should be even fatter, like that. So what you have in those two shapes, you have a shape like this plus a shape like this equals a straight line. That is how that type of math works. If I bring that, can I bring that back up? Can this thing work? No. I had to make this work. Anyway, the way that these straight lines have been created in this drawing, they are the end result of the collapse or simplification, like a mathematical simplification. Like when you guys, have you ever reduced fractions? You're like, no, Aurora, don't turn this into grade school. I hate this. I hated grade school. Okay. But when you reduce fractions, that's like we're going to take, 6 fourths, and we're going to divide everything by 2. We're going to turn into, 3 halves, right? Like that's what I'm talking about when you reduce. Doing the same thing, but we're doing it visually. So that red line plus that red line reduces, and it becomes this, I'm just looking for a different color, this blue line. There you go. So all of these straight lines here are the end result of the reduction or simplification of arcs, portions of curved lines. So this, I'm making the blue outline here. This is known as a Star of David from the Jewish, cultural tradition, and related to the Jewish religion and related to the Israeli country. However, the shape itself is not only for Jewish people, and it's not just for Israelis. It's been used as a symbolic culture, as a cultural symbol and as a national symbol. But I just want to make it very clear that the shape itself is not only for Jews and not only for Israelis. It is for everyone. So I just showed you the outline of one star tetrahedron. That's one of these, you can see this figure in the background here. One of those contains half of a chakra, not a full double torus, but only a single torus. So here's one of the vortices. Here's the other of the vortices. And I hope you can see this. This is the convergence point in the center, and they're shaped like this. And this is a very accurate drawing. And I'll show you the painting that it comes from too, but it's easier to see when it's just in the drawing. So that's half of this. That's one of the donut shapes in this yellow sculpture, but not the one that is at a complementary 90-degree angle. So this is, I'm showing this to you in order for you to understand that there is a relationship, just like a musical relationship between one note, here, play, and another note. And that makes music, note to note. There's a relationship from this star tetrahedron shape that is based in 6, and this chakra shape or donut or torus shape that is based in 8. All right, there's 2 different tempos that we are meshing together harmonically. That's the 2 matrices that I'm talking about. One is a molecular matrix. That's the six-sided one, the hexagonal one. It's about physical life, physical cells, honeycombs and bees. And then there's another matrix or pattern, basis of patterns. That is not the arrangement of the molecular world. It's the arrangement of the world of time and events of time and possibilities. And that's based in eights. And this is how we can understand the interrelationship between the six world and the eight world, because you're both. And that erroneous flower of life, that is limited strudel, and the sense of the world that comes from eating limited strudel is the sense that you're only a physical multicellular being, not also a time being. That is like amputating an enormous part of yourself, because you're both. You're an organic being. Look at me. I got a body. I got a physical body. I eat peanut butter and jelly for my physical body. And I'm also a non-physical presence. I'm made out of time. I'm made out of pure consciousness. I eat light. I eat time. I eat consciousness and ideas and awareness to feed my pure consciousness. And I'm both of those things. That is understanding. It's the bridge between squares and hexagons. And all of this, in order to relate to you, what would be known as, so in the Far East, it is known as achieving your diamond body, or Vajrayana. I should write this out. Go to the whiteboard, write this out. Boom. Clear everything out. And write it in a color that you can actually see. I'm getting smart in my old age, everyone. Vajrayana. The Vajrayana body, this is, the words come from the Tibetan Buddhist culture. It means diamond body. It means indestructible. So I have this written down. I want to read it. It is the body that you achieve through self-cultivation. It is the exemplar of spiritual strength. So like I was saying before, when you're emitting your Merkaba, you're envisioning it using your inner eye. You're projecting it using your third eye. This diamond body that we are creating, we are cultivating it. We're bringing it into being. It is brought into being with our spiritual activity, just like sitting and visualizing the Merkaba. So this is not something where I'm going to take a stone and I'm going to chisel it out and I'm going to make it in that way. No, we make it with our self-cultivation. It is indestructible. So I'm going to get into the stages of carbon and how that relates to being a diamond. But remember, we're made up of a bunch of hexagonal carbon molecules. And I can show you on a picture. It is when you transform the shape of your body, kind of like transforming the shape of a piece of paper from two-dimensional to three-dimensional, you transform on a qualitative level. And we'll show you in the carbon little drawing about what those qualities change. But you become a diamond. You go from being a bunch of black, smeary, undifferentiated coal to being a perfectly tessellated diamond. And this makes you indestructible on a spiritual consciousness level. And the Vajrayana body is also the vehicle for consciousness to bring you into the next world. So I told you Merkaba does three things, or three things so far. Immune system, manifestation, and interdimensional travel, but master 1 and 2 before you try to do number 3. Let me go to this. This is what I want to show you. Oh, wait. Let me do this. Okay, so wait, we already did this. You go down there, and then where's the other? Nope. Sorry, I'm trying to get to this picture that is right over here. I breathe a sigh of relief. It actually worked. Okay, hold on a second. Let me also drink a little bit of water. I get really thirsty when I talk so much. So I already told you carbon is a hexagonal molecule. Now do the annotation. Now it won't do annotation for me. So annoying, guys. Pop back in. Hexagonal. Here's a hexagon. So what you're looking at over here, these are examples of graphite. Graphite is pencil lead. So some examples of carbon are coal, like what you put in a coal, steam engine. Graphite, which is what is the black smeary stuff on the end of most of your pencils, and a diamond. So when here, let me first highlight, here's the hexagon. You can see the red hexagon that I'm drawing there. That hexagon can be arranged in various different ways. If it's just thrown in a blender and mushed together, you get coal. You get molecules that are arranged at various different random axes. They're all mushed together, and coal is black and smeary, and it is opaque. When you begin to arrange these molecules somewhat, they become these flat plates. This is graphite. And these flat plates are semi-organized carbon molecules. They stack on top of each other kind of like dinner plates. It's still black or dark in color. It changes and becomes more slippery, like fluid. Graphite can actually be used as a type of dry lubricant because the dinner plates, they slide against each other very, very easily. So the plates of the molecules are very, like they move against each other very easily. And it's still opaque, right? And you can see the way that those are kind of knitted together. When you move from being a flat dinner plate over here and you achieve another dimension by folding into a higher dimensional space known as the third dimension, you get to be a diamond, okay? So there's three basic, there's many other formats that you can do with carbon. There's carbon nanotubules, there's C60. C60 is when you take 60 carbon atoms and arrange them in kind of like a geodesic dome shape. That's called a fullerene after Bucky Fuller, who explored the geodesic dome. I'm not getting all into carbon 60 right now. I'm focusing on these, rather mundane, easily seen examples of carbon in daily life. So coal, graphite, and then the diamond. And these are all the same exact puzzle pieces rearranged into new formats. Just like when I showed you that optical illusion. You didn't rearrange the pixels on the screen. You didn't draw new lines. I didn't erase any of the lines that were there. What happened was, I just need to drink a little bit of juice here. You used your system of interpretation to rearrange what was already there. This is how we achieve our diamond body. It is not an addition of more puzzle pieces or molecules. It is not an amputation of molecules. It is a rearrangement of what is already there into a new format. So wait, now I clear all this stuff away. So can you see in this drawing what happened? So instead of trying to show you that, let me do this. First, let me go here and no, just go to here. I try to make things easy and sometimes it's just very complex. Let's make this go down below. Now let's show you these three pictures. These are three screenshots from a video that is in the homework section, the supplemental homework videos that I share with everyone for this class. Okay, so wait. So this is the first image that you're seeing over there. Here's the second image that you're seeing over here. And then here's the third image that we will move into, okay? So starting with the first image. These are sheets of carbon. And now do the annotation. Now I won't do the annotation for me. This is killing me. Oh my God, everybody. Okay, we'll just hop out and hop back in. Okay, annotate for me, baby. Annotate. Good. Oh. These are like the flat graphite. They are sheets of carbon. You can see the hexagonal shapes of the molecules and how they are arranged relative to one another. And they're kind of like, what is the word? Molecular sheets. Now, these guys over here, as we turn our attention to this video, this portion of the screen over here, I want to move it, but I think every time I move it, let me move it so you can see it better. I have to do this. I have to hop out and then hop back in and then move it and then do it. It's super annoying. Let's move it first. There you go. And no, go back to annotate. Annotate. Come on, do it, do it. I press the thing. If it doesn't work, I have to stop share and go back in to annotate. I know, but this should be the hardest, worst thing that ever happens to any of us. Annotate, because it's not actually that hard. There you go. So at that, those flat sheets, these were flat, like flat, boring potato chips. In order to begin to transform into your diamond body, these need to become ruffled potato chips. So now you can see this structure, the edge, starts to become curly, like that curly edge of a ruffled potato chip. You start to get ridges. You get ridgy. So it started out being flat, like a flat piece of paper. Then we start to add ridges to that piece of paper, like we're folding it like a fan. And then as those ridges, you know, you're creating a higher dimensional space, then they get joined together with these vertical lines. So I'm gonna have to hop back out and then hop back in in order to show you what I'm talking about. Hop back in. Go to the third image. Go to the third image, which is right over here. Come on, do your thing. And annotate. So this is the final stage after we have made ridged potato chips. Look, ridged, 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 and then added in these support structures, added in the vertical columns. And then this is the shape of carbon molecules in a diamond format. So we went from the flat, like graphite-like format into a three-dimensional diamond-like format. This is called, the diamond is crystal. What does it mean to be a crystal? It means that you are tessellated. What does it mean to be tessellated? It means it's a tiling, like your bathroom tiles. A tessellation means here is one tile and here's the next tile right next to it. There's no empty space. There's no gaps. There's no anything in there. So that's what I was talking about, like the hexagonal grid of the honeycomb. It's a very effective way to pack anything together. It's not like if I pack circles together, like here's a bunch of circles, there's extra space. Oops, I'm not making this drawing very good, but you understand what I'm talking about. There's extra space where I'm highlighting in white, that the circles don't use that space, it's dead space. So these hexagonal matrices are very efficient in terms of packing, that there's no wasted space. And that's what a tessellation is. It is when you have all the molecular puzzle pieces touching shoulders in such a way so that there is no space in between them. It's a perfect arrangement of molecules. This is what we are doing in achieving our Vajrayana or diamond bodies. I will now go back to my face. What we are doing is rearranging the molecules of our three-dimensional body, organic physical cellular structure that ordinarily has these 60-degree angles into ones that have a higher dimensional shape and includes a 90-degree angle. So now, you know, last week I did, not last week. I did that a couple of weeks ago. The bridge between squares and hexagons, the how we change hexa into octa. So we have two of these. And basically what I'm doing is take the same basic building blocks, just rearranging them. So I have two of these tetrahedra, and what I do is I transform it into one octahedron. So I take that base, the base pops out, and it comes around, and it becomes a part of the side. Put this one down. And now this is like the pyramid at Giza. I just took the base of the pyramid, and the base of the pyramid is no longer hexagonal. I'm sorry, no longer a triangle. Now it's a square. Look at what I just did. So not only did I just change the base of this pyramid structure, this is the shape of what the Great Pyramid at Giza is like, I now added a new angle. And I didn't talk about this enough in the level 2 presentation, so then I followed up the next week, but now I'm reaffirming it now. So in the equilateral triangles, here's a 60-degree angle. 60, 60, these are all 60 degrees, 60-degree angles. But this angle up here, where all of these triangles meet now, this now becomes a 90-degree angle. So by doing this magical maneuver, not only did I take the bottom and make it and turn it up and make it into a side, but I just added a new angle. Just like I was telling you, you have to go from being those flat potato chips into being ridged potato chips, and then you get to put all of that together into a perfect tessellation, or puzzle pieces all fit together. This is exactly what you're doing when you do the third use of the Merkaba, which is for interdimensional travel not merely for protection and not merely for manifestation. So I'm doing this on the other one, fiddling on camera. Offensive or aggressive and receptive, and they fit together and they glue each other together like this, okay? This is an octahedron. And first what I'm gonna do with you is count, like on Sesame Street. We're gonna count sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, guess what else has 8 flanges? The lasagna. We'll get into that. So now I want to show you this little crystal that I have. I don't know what the name of it is, what type of mineral it is, but this crystal is a perfect octahedron. And I'm now going to fiddle with it without getting my dog off my lap and attempt to hold this up to the camera in just the right way so that as you're looking through it, you can see the lighting is not quite right to do this. Do it. Come on, do it. Oh man. Well, if the lighting works out just right, what you end up seeing is, wow, my fingernails need to be cleaned, that there's a star tetrahedron shape within this octahedron. It's also really hard for me to hold it up with my dog on my lap like that. Let's hold it up like this again, see if we can do this better. Okay, so I hope you're starting to see this, and then I'll draw it out for you. Now let's draw it out. Yeah, I do wash my hands. I want you to know that's paint that's stuck under my fingernails like that. Let's draw it out. Oh, no, you know what will be easier than drawing it out? Hold on a second. Go to this. Go to this right here. Oh my goodness, I thought this would be easy. God, no, stop. Okay, something just happened. The thing that I thought would be easy was not easy. Let's start again. Technology, you're like working me hard today. Okay, all right. Oh my goodness, here's this. This is what I'm looking for. Basic star tetrahedron. How do we transform it into an octahedron? Just like with the optical illusion, I'm not adding or removing, I'm rearranging what is already there. I'm reinterpreting what is already there. So I add one line over here, another line over here, another line over here, another line over here, and here, and here. And let's go like this. So that is now the octahedron. Oop, I don't know what just happened with that. Much better. So now let's count faces on the octahedron. I'll get a different color. Face 1, this one's easy. This is the one that's right in front of you. 1, 2, 3, and then there's one that's behind the person's figure there. You can't see it, but 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let's do another one here. 5. Now there's, the rest of them are not visible to our eye because it's a flat flat version of a three-dimensional object. That's 5. But then on this side, 6. Then on this side, 7. And then on the back is 8. So we've still got 8 sides. We've still got 8 equilateral triangles, but we have rearranged them into a new format where now we have not only 60-degree angles down here, but now this angle over here is a 90-degree angle. That's what that little square means in shorthand. 90-degree angle. We gained an additional degree of freedom. We gained a new angle. We gained a new way of arranging the molecular structure of our body. Wait, now we go back to here. Okay, so when I hold up this all the time and I talk about the time vortex, you know, the lower quadrant of the sculpture, and how we are trying to go up the central column here and go through this little wormhole again. We came out here through this wormhole. We're trying to go up this central column and go back through that wormhole again. And I've said to you how death is an aberration, a thing that is not supposed to exist. Death is what happens when we're at an angle and we hit the membrane of death. We don't have to die. You don't have to like separate your consciousness and your spirituality, your energetic structure from your physical structure, leave your physical structure behind, and then fly free with your spiritual structure. That is not what you're supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is create your diamond body out of your molecular structure. You take it with you, but not in the same format. So this is very, very big. In the original format, oops, let me just rearrange myself here. In the original format of our physical bodies, we were not meant to, just you grow this wonderful physical form and then, oops, you die and you leave it behind like a husk and you fly off somewhere else. That's not what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be, we come here kind of like, like when they make cotton candy. I don't know if you've ever seen this. They have like cardboard thing that they put down to the machine and move it around and cotton candy assembles and accretes around the cardboard thing. That is like what we do. We come here as like a spiritual template. That's the cardboard thing that we stick down into the molecular reality, move it all around, and molecules coalesce in that format. That's the format of the flower of life all around us. That's the cotton candy. That's the cotton candy of our beautiful, organic, multicellular bodies. And I always say beautiful because whatever you feel about your personal appearance, according to like cultural standards of beauty, like our bodies are beautiful. I would like for everyone to look at your body and to be able to be like, yeah, like these cells are beautiful. This is amazing. Not like, do you have wrinkles? Do you have stretch marks? Do you have too many freckles? What size is your nose? All of those cultural things that are very silly and stupid. I'm talking about having a body is beautiful, just like whatever, like having an ecosystem, like having life is beautiful. So we're not, in order to get through that wormhole, we just needed to have a little kiss, a little boss kiss. Thank you very much. In order to get through that wormhole that comes from this level of reality into the next highest dimensional experience, you don't have to drop your body. You don't have to be like, this body stinks and I don't like it and its butt is too big. I want to get rid of my body. Calgon, take me away, and fly free like a butterfly to a different place and have a different body. No, what we're supposed to do is have lots of kisses from a dog. I'm just joking, guys. Sometimes I get a little silly. What we're supposed to do is transform our body into the diamond body. Our body in the, our body in its first format is like a lump of coal, right? It's just undifferentiated, all over the place, and opaque. That's the difference between a lump of coal, which probably you all have seen, charcoal, something like that, and a diamond. I don't have an example of a diamond, but it's like a crystal. It is perfectly clear. It is brilliant. So just by rearranging the molecular structure of carbon, it transforms on a qualitative level. It goes from being something that is soft and smushy and opaque and black to something that is very, very hard, almost indestructible, and is completely clear or brilliant, that light is now able to pass through it. That's what we do with our physical bodies. So you're not supposed to just be like, this body is poopy. It's like a lump of coal. I don't like it. I want to leave it behind. You're supposed to say, this body has the potential to transform into a diamond. What I have to do is change its molecular structure by moving into a higher dimensional state and achieving the next degree of, next highest level degree of freedom. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, thank you very much. Hold on. There's beautiful comments. Let me get to some of these comments. Hold on a second. I know I'm going to have to move over here. My dog is like, oh no, you're rearranging me so much. Okay, wait. Okay, so Jen says, she wants to do basic housekeeping. She says, do you do Facebook Live on the same day and time every week, or is it random? She doesn't want to miss them. Every week before I do this here, I do the Facebook Live. I start at 1:45, and it's usually warming up the band, getting everybody on board and inviting anybody who might not know about what I teach here to come, join and be a part of it. Again, I'm not the cruel Germanic grandmother preventing you from eating strudel. I'm the complete opposite. I'm like the loving Italian grandma that's like, let me hug you, let me give you all my recipes, let me, let you in on all my secrets. I'm giving you all the lasagna that you can possibly eat. So yes, please come to my kitchen and eat all the lasagna that you want to, because I love you. And I want to give you like a big grandma hug and give you lots of good food and pinch your cheek so that you will grow up nice and strong. Brandon says, grandma is a good analogy since I'm feeling like a toddler. So I like that you recognize that you're like a toddler. I never condescend to anyone, and I consider myself also to be a cosmic child. literally. Like, even though I know I'm very advanced, I know a lot of these patterns and things. Like Mozart was a child and he was 3 years old and he could play the piano. It has to do with like recognizing that I still need to build muscles. I still need to learn balance. I still need to learn how to do a lot of things like tying my shoes that adults might totally take for granted. So it's worthy. We are worthy beings, even if we are young, even if we are unpracticed, even if we don't know exactly what we're doing. And children are wonderful. They have boundless energy. They're super inspired. They're excited and enthusiastic. Like, it's wonderful to be a child and to be, to be at this stage of learning. It is good. And Tim is saying, I love your style of teaching. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tim. I try to keep everything fun and enjoyable and accessible, even if we might do a little bit of math. Cheeky needs another kiss. Yeah, she might be getting a little bored. Melissa, we love you too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Everything will be archived so you can catch it later. Jackie, good to see you, says, I learned many years ago to use a globe of white light in the same way as you're describing here. What is the advantage of using the Merkaba instead, or are the two techniques basically the same? Just having a protective bubble is very good. The difference between having a Merkaba as a shield is that you can envision kind of like these rotating mirrors that rotate around and bounce off like shields, like you're shielding blocking out the things that you don't want to come in. Literally, all of this is an artistic exercise. So if you want to envision something different, I encourage you to. Like, none of this is like, I'm not that type of a teacher that says, you must paint purple, otherwise you're out of the class, like you fail. Like, no one's going to do that to you. So yeah, you can literally do whatever you wish, or you can pick and choose. Whatever I offer to you here, the ideas that I offer on the plate. If you're like, that and that tastes good to me, but that does not taste good, listen to your own body. Don't eat the food that doesn't taste good to you. So, I thank you. I appreciate that. It's all optional, not mandatory. Daniela says, are there any recently ascended light body transitions that we may know have happened recently? Anybody we know? That's a good question. So there's a lot of things about this idea of, transcending and changing from being like a physical being into being a non-physical being. And a lot of it has to do with moving beyond the sense of like, you just have to have a lot of kisses today. She needs a lot of reassurance because it's kind of rainy and horrible outside. Be moving beyond what I would say ego motivation. I don't think that you have to kill your ego. I think ego can be beautiful, but it's this sense in this world that we're in right now that there's a lot of things that are like competition and unhealthy ego. So this is the challenge of anybody who is achieving any kind of special powers or superhuman qualities as they are transitioning and moving towards a state of pure enlightenment. And this has been the challenge of all of these masters and yogis throughout time, not to get stuck in the side dishes, but to stay focused on the main event. The main event is, transcendence, is making it back to that point of divinity, is, remembering that you are divine and fully embodying that divine presence. It doesn't matter if you get superpowers. It doesn't matter if anybody else knows. That's the big thing. In this journey of personal ascension, of becoming a diamond body, of transforming into a flying rainbow lasagna, what you really find out is it doesn't matter if anybody else ever knows about it. And so we have books that are written about some of the famous ascended masters, like that guy, he got a book written about him. That guy, they got a whole mystery school about him. That's great, but in many ways it's actually challenging to them, because what you're supposed to do is be transcending your sense of like, I'm so great, because we're all so great. So if you're like, if you're being used as like the example of like the pinnacle of all that is, it can be a burden on you instead of just being free to be a jazz musician and be a virtuoso and be great. So the answer that I'm laboriously trying to get out here is that all of the masters are virtuosos. All of the masters are great. And when you become a virtuoso, you become the equal to all of these amazing masters. So if a person's on that journey to becoming, a master and to becoming this wonderful diamond body, and they're like still kind of in their ego, they might need to be like I got to take a selfie while I'm ascending. Make sure that everybody can see, make sure that I can see it and prove it to myself, and that I can put it on Instagram and show it to everybody else. And that kind of takes you out of the music a little bit. If you're like in the groove and you're totally grooving, like you're not looking at like, what do my hands look like? Does my hair look good? You're not feeling that. You're feeling like, I'm grooving. And I will tell you this, like when you're grooving, you look as beautiful as it is possible to be. So you don't have to worry about, how you look or anything like that. But that's the sense. that you are like in this groove of becoming a musician in rapport with the rest of the band, the symphony of life, the sun and the stars and everything. That's what it is when we become these diamond perfected creatures. You're like, I'm in the band, I'm playing on the beat, I'm doing awesome, I'm doing so great. And if you like stop to take a selfie, it kind of takes you out of the music a little bit. And you have to examine, what are the motivations? Why do I need to take a selfie? Why do I need to show and prove it to everybody else? Why is it not enough for me just to be and experience this? Like, why do I have to somehow display it to someone else, or be sure, like, make sure to get my hair looking good, make sure that I'm at the right angle, like as you're watching my ascension? It's a totally backwards priority in what is happening in terms of the spiritual unfoldment. So what I would say is, there are many people who are right now there are many people who have come before us who have made this transition, and they've gone from being a body made out of coal that is, like not very well organized, into a body that is perfectly well organized. And on the planet right now, there are many people that are in this process and that have already successfully undergone this process. I would say if they had an easy gig of it, then they didn't take any selfies along the way. They didn't say like, I'm so great, I'm the first person to do this, I'm the 7th person, I'm the 17th person. Like, it's not like crossing the finish line of some kind of a race where it's like, woohoo, like you get the gold and I get the silver, and like now we stand up on the podium. That is not that. All of that is ego, competition, very artificial. Not that. None of that is the natural way that everything is set up. The way that it is set up, the way it really works, is like when you cross the finish line, everybody cheers. Doesn't matter if you're the 1st or the 17th or the 200,000 millionth person to cross. They're still like, awesome job. And also, it doesn't matter whether the people on earth know how awesome of a job you did, because your ascension and your perfection and your divine attainment doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you got rich or famous or had any level of recognition while you were on earth. Even though I will tell you that having recognition while you're on earth makes it a lot easier to pay for the electrons flowing in a wire and keeping your studio going. So that makes that a lot easier. But once you transcend the need to, have like physical items that you got to pay for with money, you don't have to worry about your place or your interpretation within the social construct. Let me just drink a little bit. Okay, I told you this would be a marathon. Level 1. We're not even doing level 2 today. Yeah. Stacy, hello and welcome. I don't know if you're new or if you don't usually log in, but I see that you're new here, so it's good to see you. Says, how can we raise our energy and vibration when we get super depleted? Does retrograde planets affect the mermaids? Like mermaid? I have had no ambition or energy lately, feel almost depressed, which is not like me at all. So Stacy, what we're going through right now is not normal. So it's kind of like like a baby being born or something like that. It's like, well, for 9 months we just floated around and they brought us food on a tray, but now like everything is different. The waterbed broke. It's not comfortable to be floating around. We're not floating anymore. There's no more food coming to us. Like, what is going on here? What is going on here? So yeah, we're in this birth process that is like not normal. So what is going on here is not what usually happens. You're asking about retrograde planets. Let's say that our personal development right now is absolutely tied to the events in our solar system and beyond. So what's happening with the positions of our fellow planets, the position of the stars, the emissions of the stars, including our own sun, all of that is affecting our experience here and our ability to transform. But don't think like, oh, if it's Mercury retrograde, that's it, I can't ascend today, Mercury's in retrograde. It's not like that. But understand that those are fellow players in the symphony. Mercury is like playing the tuba, and you're trying to figure out the keyboard section. And of course, you have a rapport, but you can't be like, oh my God, I can't do any of my part today because Mercury is so busy playing its tuba part. So if you're feeling depressed, I will tell you that this is also like we're going through these contractions, like galactic superwaves that are hitting our planet or affecting our entire solar system, and they absolutely affect our energy level. So I am usually very highly energetic, where I don't take a nap during the day and I'm ready to go, all day long until 10 or 11 p.m. And I've been feeling some days either extremely low energy or like I lose energy in the afternoon, or like I have to take a nap. I encourage everyone to love and respect your own body and your own journey and your own body processes, because this is just like if we're going through birth and you have to understand, it's not normal times. You might need to take a nap, even if you don't usually nap, or you might feel more hungry or less hungry or want weird food or any of those things. All of that stuff is for real. So wait, so if you're feeling depleted, so you know something, I need to eat the sun every day. I'm so happy I see the sun just came out back there. It was very rainy here for a little while, and I felt very depleted and very like, oh, my shoulders are down, I don't have any energy, because there wasn't a lot of sunlight. And right now it's like having high nutritional needs, like being pregnant or running a marathon. I need a lot of sunlight in order to have my energy feel high. So yeah, it's normal to feel depleted if you're not getting enough energy. So I would say get energy in whatever way you possibly can. And if there's no sunlight, we'll get into sun gazing is next week. So I told you needed to learn about the Merkaba before you can do flying rainbow lasagna, the activity. You also need to learn sun gazing before you can do the activity. And this was you were asking about Merkaba. Wait. Does retrograde affect the Merkaba? So yes and no. You can do the Merkaba under any circumstances. At the bottom of the ocean, in a box with a fox with green eggs and ham, you can do it any place, anytime. That's the whole point of it. You should be able to do the Merkaba whenever or wherever you need to for your personal protection. So that definitely is independent of planetary alignments and things like that. And also, it should help to protect you from negative influences that might be coming from whatever extrasolar planets or intrasolar planets. Merkaba is an effective tool to be used at any time in any place. Like I can almost not think of a time like that you shouldn't use it. You get to use it whenever you want to. And then, well, whatever. It's an immune system. I didn't get that much into manifestation, but both Merkaba and Flying Rainbow Lasagna are tools for manifestation, but they differ, and I talked about that in level 2. Here's Aurora, who came into the physical world to help with the putti, or pesky occupiers of the interstice problem, the turds. Doesn't it help if we get superpowers, or does it help more if we ascend? Ooh, what a wonderful question. It helps if you do both, with the understanding that getting superpowers is the natural side effect of ascending, or let's say raising your vibration on a general level. This is what the meditators of the Far East understood, that as you do self-cultivation, as you change your molecular structure, as you have more light, you accrete more light, like the cotton candy is going around and getting more and more on top of your cardboard. You're more and more light. You're going to get what would be considered superpowers. So your higher faculties will come online. You'll start to see things that would be considered beyond the level of the human intellect. You might be able to perform spontaneous healings or other things that would be considered miraculous or inexplicable. And those are all valuable things to do, but I don't want anyone to say, wait, I'm not going to ascend today, even though I could. I still have to do blah, blah, blah with my superpowers. Don't do that. Don't say, oh, like I could ascend right now, or I could press pause and I could stay here and I could like clean up that polluted waterway, or, fix that guy's broken leg. Don't hang around. That whole idea of like, well, I'm going to do a bodhisattva vow and I'm going to stay here until everybody gets to be happy and safe and comfortable. No, you do not have to do that. Like, it's not that time anymore. That might have been right for like whatever, thousands of years ago. Now it is time to cross the finish line. It is time to break the tape, get across the finish line. Don't hang back because you're like, but wait, that guy back there needs help. Yes, literally the best way that you can help is by crossing the finish line. Get across the finish line, ascend, don't hold yourself back. But if you're still at mile 15 of a 25-mile race and you see that there's someone that you can help and you can use these burgeoning superpowers, use them. It helps you, it helps everyone that's in the race. So the distinction is, don't be sidetracked by the cultivation or use of your superpowers. And also don't be sidetracked by ego things like having to display, to show like, look at how I can do the scorpion position. I can do a magical backflip. Like, you don't have to do that. Just know that you can do these things. Because that's what you're really cultivating yourself, so that you know that you can do these things. Yeah, Stacy's saying, thank you for the answer. I just had my first grandbaby on Friday and I'm super excited about it. Congratulations, that's wonderful. But I feel so bad because I'm feeling so low energy. Oh, thank you. I love you back, my dear. And I would say, don't beat yourself up at all, and understand that these whatever waves of energy, we're definitely on a roller coaster, and I feel it like anybody else does. So yeah, like doing the flying rainbow lasagna is a good example of this. It's a high energy dance, and I need to be high energy in order to do it. So if I'm feeling low or depleted, or if I've had, like illnesses or neurological stuff that's holding me down, it's like, no, let me not do that activity right now. Let me get my energy together and then do it. So like anything, you might need to save your money before you go out and buy a new sweater. Don't just buy a sweater that costs $1 because it's cheaper. Save your money, then buy the right sweater. So that's what I would say to everybody. Like if you're feeling energetically depleted, or like you're not on your game, don't hate yourself. Love and accept yourself. You are not on your game. We are going through a birth canal. We are having a lot of challenges here. Take time to rest, and then do it when it feels right. Thank you very much. So wait. Let me make sure that I got all of the important stuff that I wanted to get to here. So to clarify, the erroneous Flower of Life teachings were due to not including all of the angles correctly, and not including the shape of the lobes correctly and the number of lobes. I think I got that. Now let's talk about manifesting. So we've got that upward pointing pyramid and the downward pointing pyramid. So let's say you're level 1 people, you have all worked and practiced, you can now envision your Merkaba perfectly at the drop of a hat. And now it's time to move on to the next thing, which is being able to do wish making with the cosmos. So wish making with the cosmos. In your upward pointing pyramid, when you are envisioning it, you put specific desires. And I always use ice cream or dessert as the example. You're like, okay, I want to have Cherry Garcia ice cream on a Tuesday in a blue bowl. I want my friend Harry to bring it to me. And then in my downward pointing receptive pyramid, I put the feelings of intuitiveness that are part of my request. Like I want something cold and creamy, something that feels like a summer's day or like a birthday party. I want something that will whatever, feel a certain way. And you also understand that there's a little bit of dealer's choice or chef's choice in that receptivity. Because if you're only like, this is my note, this is my beat, I'm playing my music, and you're not listening to the rest of the band, you become a bad musician. You have to be open to what else is there in terms of receptivity to events and new things. So then how do you manifest? You press run on the program. Parameters and upward one, parameters and downward one, and then I press run by making them spin. And as they're spinning, it's emitting those events into reality. And then you go and have your experience. And that's like playing a song. That's like saying, here, let me move my little thing so I can get to my keyboard. My part in the cosmic music is this. Flying rainbow lasagna wants this. And then I play that. And then the cosmos replies by playing this. This is what I will give you in response. And we have this wonderful rapport back and forth. And it's really important to be that way. So you can say, I want this specific thing. And then what you might actually get back might be frozen custard. It might be on Wednesday instead of on Tuesday. It might be on Tuesday in several months. It might be brought to you not by Harry, but it might be brought to you by, some other person instead. You have to be open to chef's choice, and sometimes things come out different than you expected, but you recognize that it's still the emanation of your own desire. So here's a good example from my own life. I just have to rearrange because my dog is like sitting on my lap in an uncomfortable way. So I was this is last year, there's a show on TV that I like and enjoy called The Magicians, although I caution you that it does have some graphic violence in it, but it came from some good audiobooks that I listened to. And if you watch the episode called The Reading Room, they take books off the shelf that are books from magical teachers. And one of them is from Aurora, which is literally a reference to me. But that's not why I'm bringing this up. So this is last year when I was sitting in my Merkaba, and I said how I wanted, there was a part of that show that involved the underworld, characters who had died, and they now found themselves in the underworld. And for their experience of the underworld, world between worlds, like the Bardo plane, it was a bowling alley. And I was thinking, wouldn't it, in my Merkaba, I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if those characters on that show started singing karaoke at the bowling alley? but they got bored with the songs that were already recorded, and instead they hijacked all of the equipment and started to write their own songs and have a dance party in the underworld. Okay, that was my specific upward pointing request, and it was rather casual. Like, you can be playful with the cosmos. Not all of this is like super serious. So I was being a little playful with the cosmos. And then when I actually watched the show, what happened instead was, it wasn't characters in the underworld, it was characters in a pocket world. So they found themselves in a dream world that was separate from reality. And in order for them to get out of reality, they get out of fake dream world into the real reality, the doorway out was they had to sing karaoke. They had to sing karaoke together, and they sang the song Under Pressure. It's one of my favorite songs. So you can see I sent out a request for a specific flavor of ice cream, but I was open to chef's choice. And then what reflected back to me contained elements of my request, but it was also transformed. It wasn't exactly the same, but it had the same flavors. It was like something cold that you eat at birthday parties that makes you feel like celebrating. All right. So these are just like, you'll start to come up with your own examples when you start to play with your own Merkaba. And how does Merkaba different from Flying Rainbow Lasagna? Because that manifestation was like a specific 3-minute song that I played with the cosmos. I want it to be karaoke in the underworld. And the cosmos says, how about karaoke in a pocket world? And we kind of mesh together. And that's it. That's done. That program ran. I pressed run on that program. It ran, and it's done. It's not going to keep on popping up over and over. That is very different than manifesting with the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, which is a consistent outer manifestation of the inner realm. So inner to outer, then the outer reflects back to the inner, then the inner back to the outer. That's like freeform jazz, extravaganza that keeps on going, where you keep on jamming with the rest of the band and it never stops and you keep on going. So Merkaba is for manifestation, and you begin with these small incremental, let's say encapsulated projects, beginning, middle, end, boom, it's done. And then you move into Flying Rainbow Lasagna, which is like an extended dream, where you keep on jamming and the dream never ends. How do I use Merkaba in terms of making the Flying Rainbow Lasagna and doing that as a daily practice? Before I do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, reality creation and manifestation, first I do sit down, do sun gazing. We'll learn about sun gazing next week. And then I do the Merkaba for immunity, for protection around my body. Then once I've got that going, then I start going into the higher dimensional uses of the Merkaba and doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So it's like saying, first I set up a nice comfortable shield that surrounds my art studio so that no one's going to break in. I got like burglar alarms. I got, like a nice safe place to work so that no one else is going to come on in and try to mess me up while I'm in the middle of this very delicate operation that's known as, like transforming reality, which is the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So here's a good question. Tim says, do you always imagine to have a Merkaba whenever you do activity? And what is the blessing exactly? And how does it work? And how does it affect one another physically and spiritually? These are good questions. Kiss me, kiss me. I know you want to kiss. She's being so good. She's being so patient. We're waiting for the rain to end. Then we'll get some exercise outside. Okay. First question is, do I always imagine a Merkaba for whatever activity? My basic answer is yes, because I have found that it has helped me to avoid many different mishaps. So like the bacon grease, but it's not like it rules my life. It's not like, oh my God, before I can go cook my breakfast, I have to do the Merkaba. At this point, it's like tying my shoes or brushing my teeth. So it's just like that. When you're a little kid, you have to be like, okay, brush, brush, up, down, side, side. But now you're like, oh, I got to brush my teeth before I get on out there and do my important work. Like I've mastered the Merkaba. So it's a very quick thing for me to do it. So I'll tell you that I do a fresh one and refresh it every time before I get in my car, because getting in your car is kind of dangerous. Every time before I do something that's dangerous or risky, including doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and that's at least once a day. I mean, it's not like I do the Merkaba every time, like before I, make a pee-pee in the toilet or, wash my hands or anything like that. It's nothing like that. And there's no ritual that I have in terms of manifesting it and creating it. Each one of you will have to figure out your own way to get that energy to do it. It's just like playing the piano. I don't have a ritual for sitting down and playing the piano, but I do it when I feel inspired. So it might be like, sometimes I turn on a song of someone else and I'm like, oh, I hear that piano part. I want to go play, get me to my piano. Or sometimes it's like, oh, I've been thinking about this. Or sometimes it's just seeing my piano, wanting to turn it on. So you will find the things that inspire you to do, or an athletic activity. Something I really found, different clothing helps me to do an activity. So if it's like, oh, I put on my shoes, then I feel like going out for a WALK, right? If I put on certain equipment, then I feel like performing those activities. So there might be a particular place where you sit. That's your spot for doing that. I have a flying rainbows on your chair that definitely inspires me. It's a comfy chair for doing this type of work. So you will find the things that inspire you. So you're asking, what is a blessing exactly? So I would say there's no incantation or words or anything that you have to specifically say, like, I am now doing the Merkaba. It's an intention. It's a willpower. And it can be really instantaneous. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out thing. It can be just like, boop, done, shields up, you're done. And how does it affect physically and spirituality? So it's basically, the Merkaba can do three things: shield of protection, tool for manifestation, and then vehicle for interdimensional travel. The interdimensional travel is like number 3. Master 1 and 2 before you try number 3. And the number 3 stuff, I have a teaching in level 2 that's all about it. So if you haven't checked it out, you can check that out. But the basic answer is, it's like learning to drive a car, and you have to make sure that you can navigate. Just driving a car is not good enough. You have to read a map. You have to know that you're going to a good neighborhood. You have to have enough gas in your vehicle to get there and get back. There's a lot more to driving a car safely than just knowing this is the gas and this is the brake and this is, the steering wheel. So on to Stacy's question. She says, I can easily project and see my Merkaba around me, but it's hard to make them spin correctly. Can I just set the intention and keep practicing until I can do it? Yes, you can. You can envision them as a static object. It's like working first in pencil and then moving up to indelible ink and paint and stuff like that. So that's what I was saying. You grow muscles. The more that you envision the Merkaba, the more your muscles of envisionment grow strong. And it becomes easier and easier to do. So it requires less focus, less concentration, and boom, you just do it. And also your envisionment becomes a more sturdy object. So we're talking about in the astral world, the world of mind projections. We are all toddlers cultivating our capacity to project these sturdy objects in our minds and maintain them. So that's why the Merkaba kind of like loses vitality. You have to keep on imagining it around yourself every day, or whatever, consistently, let's say, not every day, but keep on imagining it around you consistently. And you're building your muscles of imagination to the point where you can imagine it very easily. I'm squinting so that I can see over here. Chloe says, see, I can get them spinning, but I cannot imagine the form of it, but I can hear the whooshing of the movement, like I can hear it spinning. Do I need to see it? So I'm glad that you're feeling it. It's just like being able to feel a song and feel the beat of the song, but then once you learn, like, oh, like I'm actually playing a C, I'm actually playing a D, the formalism helps. So both of you, the one of you, Stacy, who can envision the form but not the movement, and Chloe, who can envision the movement but not the form, both of you will continue to work, or I encourage you to continue to work on your envisionment until you can do both. And you will do both. It's like being able to, whatever, walk and chew gum at the same time. We all are becoming a super person. You're becoming a super person. It just takes a little bit of time. Daniela says, I recently raised the shield by envisioning Merkaba at a stressful moment, and it allowed me to watch the moment unfold in a more detached way, like a curious observer. Nice feeling. Nice. Thank you for that reportage. And that's a good use of Merkaba. Someone else told me a really good anecdote too. They were having a problem with the bank. This is a good nonviolent example of like how to use it to, affect reality. Some problem with the bank, and before they called, they put a Merkaba around themselves, around their phone, and around the person at the bank or the bank account itself they would be talking to. And after they did that, they called up, and the issue was easily, magically resolved. When I use the word magically, it was like, I don't know if it was an overdraft fee. Some fee had been taken from their account. But you know how like sometimes you call the bank and it's like, oh yeah, that's no problem. I'll just press a button and now your life is totally easy. Or the complete opposite, where the person is maybe unhelpful or says, I'm sorry, it's our policy. There's nothing I can do. And you escalate to a manager and you just end up like wasting a lot of time and being unhappy. What happened for her was the first one, that let's say in using the Merkaba, we're not controlling somebody else's behavior. It's like saying, may the best possible outcome happen. When Cheeky goes to the dog park, I put a Merkaba around her and all the dogs. I say, may the best possible outcome happens. May all the dogs play together happily. You call up the bank, you say, hey, I made an honest mistake, blah, blah thing happened, and I thought this check was there and it wasn't actually there. May the best possible thing happen where the other customer service rep is open to your suggestions and helps you out, and they press a magic button and things work out okay. So this is an example of how we can use Merkaba in our life. And it's about being in partnership and being in rapport, not just being like a megalomaniac, narcissist, self-centered, focused person where it's like me, me, me. It is me, 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 but it's also you, 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 and us, us, us. Pedro says, I keep my Merkaba every day. We have EMF, radiation, and contamination, and pesky occupiers, mischief. So I want to be prepared. That is wonderful. And I think that's a really good practice. So yeah, doing things like the Merkaba can definitely help to shield us from intrusive thoughts, from pollution. So a good example of pollution would be like, hey, let's say you're breathing in some whatever harmful radioactive particles. They don't have to make you sick. You can breathe them in and breathe them out and poop them out. That's the best resolution of that circumstance. So this is why you can understand that the Merkaba was taught as a foundation in the ancient world or the esoteric schools of like how you navigate reality. How do you get to that central core timeline instead of hitting the membrane of death? Well, you put a Merkaba protection around yourself so that if you're breathing in something that's dangerous or gross, it doesn't actually harm you. Oh, you know who likes to, this person over here likes to drink rainwater out of puddles. Like we've been getting a lot of rain and we walk around town and she's like, oh, I'm thirsty. I'll drink out of a puddle. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's a puddle like right in the middle of the parking lot or something like that. I'm like, the mom in me is like, oh my God, you're drinking something that's dirty. But you know what I do? I put a Merkaba around her little digestive tract and around all the water molecules. And I say, if there's any pollution, may it pass through and not actually, harm her or lodge inside of her. And so this is, there's many different ways to use this. You can put a Merkaba around your hamburger and be like, may all the nutrients that I actually need come inside of me, and may any contaminants from our farming practices in this world pass through me and not harm me. May the bacon grease fly on the kitchen everywhere else except for me. Got it, guys? You got it. You totally got it. Elena says, thanks, Aurora, for your teachings. So wonderful to be here, learning and sharing all of this with everyone. Getting too sleepy to get, well, thank you. Merkaba yourself off to bed. Thank you, Elena, for being here. I think that she's on a different continent than the one that we are on. Yeah, and I appreciate Elena is the person who suggested that I do the mute on entry, and I think that's been working well. So thank you for that. And yes, one of my practices is also I do a Merkaba around myself. Like I lay down in my bed and with my little dog, I do a Merkaba around us. Then I do a Merkaba around the bedroom. Then I do a Merkaba around the entire house. Then I do one around like my whole little neighborhood. Then I do one around like my whole little area of the globe, like California. Then I do a whole one around the whole planet. And then I do a whole one around the whole solar system. This is all appropriate. And like you said, think about that. If you're like, Aurora, like, why I got a Merkaba my whole town? I'm like, I don't like everybody in my town. It doesn't matter. Because you know what? If you Merkaba your town, it will help to protect you from something like a forest fire, a catastrophe, an earthquake. Like this is what I'm talking about. So they're really good practices to do on a daily basis. And it is a very concerted way of aligning your mind with the best possibilities, where you're saying, I don't want to crash my car on the highway. I don't want to have my town burned to the ground. I don't want to have bacon grease burn me from head to toe. I want to live a happy, healthy life where I get to transform my physical cellular structure of my body into an undying format. And that the other thing is, when you transform, you might look different. You might not even be perceptible to people that just have regular fleshy eyes that are just looking at your regular fleshy body. So that's why you have to be prepared for that. Don't be so focused on how other people are perceiving you to be like, hey guys, are you getting my best side while I do my ascension? Did you do your selfie? Don't care about how it looks to others. Don't care about, their perception of you. Just stay focused on your own journey and on making that pinnacle of achievement. Joel says, wow, so the Merkaba can actually protect us from EMF, nanobots, chemtrails, 5G, anything. Yes, it can. I want to talk a little bit about 5G, but it's almost at the end of this class, and it's a big topic. But yes, what you would do if you Merkaba against 5G, you would say, may the best outcome happen. So that might mean like, hey, 5G is at large in the world, but it's not microwaving your body and your skin. You're staying healthy, even if all of this crap is out there. It's like saying if you go swimming in the ocean, you Merkaba yourself before you go in the ocean, then it's like, oh, there might be giant sharks and killer whales, but they're going to be swimming all the way over there, miles away from you, and you can swim over here in this little cove and have a fun time. That's what this is about. So it's a way of saying that you are carving out your little, zone in reality where you can cultivate your consciousness in spite of all of the crap that's out there, because that is your right. That's appropriate. That's what you're supposed to be doing here. Let me lean closer so I can see. Pedro says, Merkaba, family, friends, pets, wildlife, cells, atoms, the whole universe, all creation, your imagination is the limit. Yes. And so Pedro is an advanced student in this class. He's been working with this for a long time. And we've spoken about Merkabaing even individual photons. Like I put a Merkaba around the planet. I put one around the sun, which is our star. And I even put even little miniature individual ones around all the photons emanating from the star and coming here. All that beautiful light that's coming in the window. Little tiny Merkabas all around that. And when you find out at a certain point in your perception is, you'll see it's a whole interconnected grid of consciousness. So really the protection of yourself is the protection of that grid, and it feeds back into each other. Joelle says the Merkaba isn't so much about the ego and who you do and don't like. It's about the highest good of everyone that comes in contact with it, including truth for the bad guys. Oh, yes. Oh, Nelly, yes. That is so wonderfully said. So yeah, if we put a Merkaba around our planet and we say, okay, what we're really doing is saying, like, may there be justice. It's not like saying, I want to, bitch slap those guys down there, but those guys get to get off scot-free. It's not like saying that at all. It's like saying, in the difficulty that we currently find ourselves in on a planetary scale, may the best outcome happen. May all the bad guys, may there be justice. May all the bad guys receive what you send out comes back to you instantaneously. May they get the rewards for what they've done. May the good guys, may the good people, may the people with real hearts get the reward for what we have done too. And may, if there's any, like, there's blowback. There's lots of people on this planet who are really like crapheads. And yes, they've been polluting the place a lot. They deserve to have the blowback from their pollution. Not good people. If you didn't pour a bunch of chemicals into the ocean, like, you don't deserve to get cancer. The guys that did that deserve to get cancer. So that's big. The Merkaba really also does mean, like, because part of it is those mirrors, like mirror shields, blocking out from you, but sending back to owner. That's a big one. Return to sender. That's the word I'm looking for. Those mirrors, rotating shields around you. Return to sender. All crapola. You get crapola sent out to you. No, it doesn't even have to come inside of your body. Send that back to the people that sent it out to you, including malevolent occupiers of the interstices, including corporate structures, including government structures, including military psychopaths, anything that they're sending out to you. Pedro says instant karma in your Merkaba of the planet. Instant karma is going to get you, going to knock you right off your feet. That's exactly what it is, completely. Join the human race. So I think it's the end of class, everyone. I think, Cheeky's been super patient the whole time. I know that she needs to go OUT for WALK. You know that I'm spelling it because she's so smart. She knows what I'm talking about at this point. And she's giving me that look where she's like, I know what's going to happen next. Thank you. Jackie is saying, thank you for being so patient, Cheeky. You did a really good job today. She did a really good job today. This is like, she's usually never this low energy. She's usually so active and wanting to do stuff. It's just because it's been rainy and horrible. So Cheeky has no problem loving herself. If she's feeling low energy on a certain day, she's just going to sit with me and not do her usual stuff. But I need to get sunlight and dance like a lasagna. Pedro says, love the lasagna. The lasagna loves you back. And thank you, Pedro, for being in this class and for your great thoughts and for sharing them here. Chloe says, yes, love the lasagna. We love you too, Chloe. Thank you. Thank you, Brandon. We love you too. Thank you to everybody. I'm going to stop. Oh, I'm just getting so many hugs here. I don't even want to rock the boat. Here. Let me. Oh, we got to stop the video. We're going to stop the video. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.